Hello, and welcome to New Wave's IT video blog post for August 2010. I'm Kathlika Thomas, the chief contributor to New Wave's IT project blog. Thank you for joining me for this week's entry. Our topic today is an iterative approach to project management. Nowadays, more projects across industries are being approached as incremental iterative endeavors, often called phases. Take a look at the image in the top half of this slide. The project phase breakdown, followed by most software development engagements, runs from start to close. But this phase terminology can be confusing, since by phases, I don't mean the typical initiation through conclusion typical of standard PMBOK-inspired projects. Instead, chopping a project into modular, manageable pieces of work that have a clear definition of success is an approach that has become more attractive to organizations. This is called the iterative approach, as displayed in the bottom half of the slide. As blown up here, each recurring iteration has a definite deliverable, time frame, and even budget. As in the usual software development lifecycle, each iteration has its own phases for requirements gathering, design, testing, etc. But in the case of iterations, because development pieces are smaller, risk can be reduced, giving managers and sponsors more control over their overall budget, which is a primary concern in today's corporate financial climate. So while an iterative approach may seem more complex because of the dynamic nature of the work, it ends up being more easy because the planning required is short-term with many opportunities to adjust as time progresses. Take, for example, the Agile method. That's a type of iterative development. As the name implies, each phase of this software development process is quick, with its own design, build, and test cycle, after which the end result is delivered to the client for review and feedback. This collaborative process lends itself to a faster speed to market for the final product and increased business efficiencies as a result of the change. Also, a shorter development window usually means a reduced budget. Over time, you don't have to pay developers as much if they're only engaged for a limited period and not sitting idle during development of pieces for which they're not directly responsible. What about the potential for defects given such short and fast-paced development windows? Actually, the Agile method has led to less defects in the final product. But why? Testing and verification is completed at each step of the way, allowing less high-severity defects to slip through past go-live. Finally, another benefit to be expected is a product that will meet client needs. The Agile method in particular emphasizes a spirit of collaboration, one that will lead to fewer surprises in the end because of constant communication between client and service provider. Let's consider a study from New Wave Technologies of an intricate and complicated project that was simplified because the team took on a phased approach. In this project, it was New Wave's goal to assist a government agency to reinvent the way they track equipment maintenance in 23 different facilities using a maintenance management system. The problems to be tackled were many. First, each facility had its own disparate database. That means that common information in the database had to be manually updated on a regular basis. Disparate databases gave no universal view of all facility maintenance. That lack of a universal view led to limited business intelligence in this area for maintenance. The solution called for a consolidation of all databases into a single and centralized data store that could be used by all facilities and a newly developed crystal reporting solution to enhance intelligence and the business's ability to make smart decisions in their maintenance group. The development solution was phased in this way. First, phase 1, consolidate. New Wave Technologies actually employed a third-party extractor replicator called Golden Gates to replicate each of the 23 separate databases into a single consolidated database on the Nonstop server. This included setting up online replication to capture ongoing updates to each database. Since the maintenance databases weren't designed for consolidation, some data transformation was required to prevent collisions in the consolidated database. Another problem was resolving conflicts in data that had been manually replicated across the 23 sites. So to deal with this issue, we developed algorithms to identify and resolve the conflicts and defined replication rules to prevent them from recurring. The next was phase 2, replicate. The goal of this phase was to replicate the new database on a Microsoft SQL server hosted on a clustered Windows system. This task required further data transformations to map data from the non-normalized records to a relational schema. We also created some monitoring tools to ensure continuous operation. The final phase, phase 3, was to convert. We needed to convert over 50 COBOL language report programs to Crystal reports, report definitions. This proved to be the greatest challenge because of the lack of documentation for the thousands of lines of report generation code and the complex business logic that was encoded in them. After successfully completing this task and finishing the project, we turned monitoring and operations over to maintenance support staff. What was the outcome? Well, not only did the operational data store succeed in keeping the agency organized throughout its 23 facilities, but they were thrilled with the overall experience. According to one of the client managers involved in the project, New Wave provides excellent customer service, great attention to detail, and a professional approach. Management can now more easily track past and upcoming maintenance, allowing the agency to budget and plan more efficiently. To read the full story about this phased approach that New Wave took, visit www.newwave-tech.com/ODS story. In this case, ODS stands for the Operational Data Store that resulted from the project. When embarking on your own IT project, think about whether or not the iterative approach is right for you. If you would like New Wave's help on one of your projects, just email info@newwave-tech.com and we will contact you to discuss your requirements. Always be aware of the advantages and disadvantages so that you can make the best of the iterative approach when you decide to try it on your own projects. You'll find that when used in an organization that's motivated and open to change, it can be a great tool in your project management arsenal. Well, that's all for this month's video blog post. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope you found this information and the case study informative and helpful. Be sure to stay up to date and visit our IT project blog at www.newwave-tech.com/IT-project-blog and follow us on Twitter at NewWave to stay abreast of all of our developments.